Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lori. I'm the face behind Entretejidos Crochet and Lori's Crafty Corner. It's time to organize my yarn. Even though I technically did like this whole yarn room organization thing back in September, I'll link the video up here, but I have recently been doing a lot of pattern testing, and I've noticed that even though it looks like I have a lot of yarn, I actually don't have a lot of the same yarn. And for one of the last pattern tests that I had to be very creative. Very creative. Now, that's one reason. So one reason is I want to see how much yarn of a particular category I have. The second reason is I have two patterns that I have to design for crochet alongs that I'm going to be a part of in the near future, and I want to know how much yarn I have. So that's two reasons. The third reason is I have a lot of patterns that I haven't worked through. There are some patterns out there that that look great in whatever yarn, and then other patterns, they're more geared towards blanket yarn. Whenever I think of loveys, I just think like blanket yarn. Be it bernat blanket or basix chenille, that's like the name of the game for some of those patterns. Third reason is I want to start using patterns that I've gotten and start making them, and I also need to keep in mind like what yarn I have. So even though I have like these very different reasons, they all stem from the fact that I want to know what yarn I have, what amount of yarn I have in these types of different yarns. Not only that, but if I organize my yarns by categories, which is kind of what I want to do, I'm going to hopefully be smarter about what I buy, keep tabs on what yarns I need, even though they might not have like a project attached to it. What I mean by this is I am on like a loose yarn spending freeze. I have bought yarn in the year, but it's only because they have a set project attached to them. Now, that is all fine and good, but, and this is something that I hope to have fixed soon, I want to get an artisan license. So here in Puerto Rico, for the majority of crafters or artisans to be able to sell at markets, you need to have a series of licenses. You need to have like a business license, which I got that, but you also need to have an artisan license. And it's not something that you can just go to like some place and just get it. You have to like sign up, and then they have to wait for a certain amount of people to apply and sign up so that, they make like this whole like certifying party, if you will. But I finally put in the call. I did send in my information and I was put on the list to hopefully be certified soon, which means I might be signing up for markets in the near future, which I'm super excited for because I have a lot of inventory. Yes, I do sell like the 1 or 2 plushies on Etsy, but granted, it's not Etsy's fault. I do need to maybe pick up or like update the, just tweak around the listings that I already have for plushies. The fact that I might be able to have like this, just be able to take part in a market it's amazing. Granted, and I don't know if I've shared this before, I was part of a pop-up, I believe a year and a half ago, where a friend of mine had this event It was a scrapbooking event, and I asked her if I could take some of my plushies. I ended up taking all of my plushies, and I did pretty well. I did sell quite a few plushies. I had hair ties, headbands, things like that, and I did pretty well. After that, since it was a private event, I could sell those. But when it's more public, like if it's at the town center, or it's at a bigger event, I kind of need that artisan license. So hopefully I'll get those. And what does that have to do with, me organizing my yarn? If I start selling my plushies, I need to keep up with my stock. And right now, the only place that I can get yarn, at least the yarns that I particularly use, it's online. It's at premieryarns.com. So because I also live in Puerto Rico, even though they send out the package in a timely fashion, more often than not, whenever I place an order, it ships the next day. But it does take between 7 to maybe 14 days to get to me. I don't know why, why that big difference. So if I'm in the throes of making a bunch of inventory, but I'm still waiting on yarn, well, you kind of see the predicament that I could be in. Mind you, I don't have a market or anything set up yet, but hopefully soon. So by organizing the yarn that I have into the yarn types, it'll help me be able to buy yarn that they might put on sale, and have kind of like a little stash that, even though it doesn't have a particular project attached to it, it's there and it's going to be used up in the near future. With all of that being said, today we are going to organize the yarn. The idea that I have in mind is to organize the yarn categories by the most that I used, the most that I reach for, instead of colors. So instead of having these are the purples and the pinks and reds, it'll be much more colorful back there, because I do plan on parfait chunky will be the most, it's the most that I use, so it'll be over here. Then we're gonna move over here and have bernat blanket, basix chenille, that sort of blanket yarn, because that's the other yarn type that I use quite a bit. And we'll go from there. I don't know how many days it'll take me. It might just take me just one day, which would be amazing. I forgot to mention, there are 2 more reasons why I need to organize this. Since I've been pattern testing quite a bit, making my own patterns, it's been 3 months. This is the start of April, at the time that I'm filming this. It's been 3 months where I've been pulling out yarn and putting it back in, pulling and putting back. It's not too organized, so I don't know exactly how much I have or what colors I have. So hopefully it'll give me oh, I have this. I can, it'll also serve as inspiration. I also have, and this ties in with the patterns that I want to start making, I want to incorporate challenges. I got this idea from, I don't know her name, but I know it's the Cozy Buckeye, where she was making, I'll link her video down below. She was making different patterns of Mama Made Minis loveys, and she was using these color cards as inspiration for the yarn. And it got me thinking that could be a nice challenge to have, to see how many different color combinations I could make with these other plushies. Because at times, even though we might have a lot of different colors, we draw a blank on what to make with what yarn. This would be, I think this would be like the 5th or 6th reason, of why I need to organize my yarn. If for no other reason that I also just want to organize the yarn. Like, if nothing else, I just want to make it look prettier. We are going to move you over. I have you situated quite literally on top of an overturned wastebasket, just so that you have a nice enough angle. Let's start doing the damage. I am going to try my best to pull everything out and then organize. Like, over here is going to be parfait chunky, everything bernat blanket yarn is going to be here, and then any sort of like specialty yarn. And what I mean by specialty yarn is, like, for example, this is cotton yarn, this is pixie dust, which is very, very thin. So those are going to go into like the other cubbies. If I do find any sort of worsted weight yarn, it'll go into the cubbies that have worsted weight yarn and go from there. So most of it is going to be parfait chunky, bernat blanket, and then specialty worsted weight chunky yarn over here. Now, I do know that I'm not going to be able to finish this today because I have about an hour before I need to go out and do some errands. But hopefully in that hour, we'll be able to do a bit or a lot. Wait, I don't know if I said this, but I have a box here, or a tote, because as I've been pattern testing, I've had a lot of these little balls that obviously they're not enough for a project. So I will pull those out and put them here, and I am going to use them for a scrap project. Grabbed a cup of coffee. Let's go. So it started out pretty easy. I was just pulling out from the blue cubby anything that wasn't parfait chunky. I did pull out a few of the parfait chunky, but it was only so that I could organize it better. But for the most part, parfait chunky stayed in there. Anything else was just placed on the table, which you can't see, but it's right below me. And then I did the same thing with the greens. What I was trying to do is not dump all of the yarn out, because that would have been a project. So what I did was pull out parfait chunky so that I could move it over, and then anything that was blanket yarn, jumbo yarn that was in blue or green stayed in that cubby on the left hand side. So far, so good. Don't have a snack and organize yarn at the same time. It's fine. It's a leftover little ball of feels like bliss yarn. But things like that could very well happen. While I have you here, let me toss this out. So I have made some progress. This is all greens and blues in parfait chunky, and here's where we're going to have bernat blanket, like blanket yarn. I might have, depending on how much blanket yarn I have, maybe this cubby, let me shift you a little bit. Maybe this cubby down here is going to be anything left over from like bernat blanket, and also this snow cone yarn from Premier Yarns. But the reason that I had to take a pause was because I was going to reach for my coffee, and that happened. And also because I have a few skeins of green that I need to recake so that I can add these here. Because we live in boxes here. more or less. So this box is where I basically throw all the yarn that I've already used for a particular pattern or pattern test that needs to go back into the cubbies, but I haven't like had a chance to like do that. So they go here for the time being, but I do need to rewind them and place them here. So let's do that. Let me grab the ones that need to be fixed, which are this mint skein with this green one. And this little ball, it's not too bad. It can just go here. And the way, let me tilt you up a bit. The way, actually, let me just move you. It'll be easier. This is where I need another hand. So the way that I'm organizing these is blues and greens. And then if there's like a roll or a skein, that's where it goes. And you know, any like weird color will go in the middle. Weird being if it's like, it's neither green nor blue, it'll just go there. And then I'm also going to do the same thing for each of these colors. I think that these three colors are going to go together. Like the purple, the pink, and the orange. Or maybe like, yeah, I might just use like the pinks and purples in one little box, and over here the oranges and yellows, and then like neutrals, because I do have a few neutrals there. But first things first, let's cake up these yarn and place them over here and continue on. So after that time lapse, I finished everything that I needed to cake up, and this is how we're looking. The greens and blues look so cute. I love it. And as I was like caking them up, I was like, okay, maybe this would be bernat blanket, and this is cover story, and I can also mix in some of the Naughty Ball yarn. So maybe instead of like brands, well, it will be mostly brands, but it's fine if I mix in some of like Naughty Ball mixed in with bernat blanket and jumbo. This is Parfait XL. And we'll go from there. I'm kind of debating. This is velvet. This is Premier's Basix Velvet. It is slightly thinner than chenille, the, you know, Parfait Chunky, but I think I'm gonna put it here because those are the gumdrops, and the gumdrops are a bit thicker than Parfait Chunky, and they're there. So let's do that. Let's move this. I have this big cake over here. Move this mint one, put this here with this here, and there we go. Now I'm checking in with Mr. Entretejidos to see if he's working from home tomorrow, because if he is, I need to deal with this now because I am like overflowing into his desk. If not, then it doesn't matter. We can keep the chaos here for another day. But next update, because I do need to head out the door and run some errands. Hopefully next update will be another time lapse and or me working on this area here. Good morning. We've made some progress. Albeit it was all off camera because I forgot to charge the battery, but we have some progress. For now, this is how it's looking. At the top, everything that's blanket yarn is in these two cubbies, and then in this one over here is where I have more or less more of like the specialty yarn, or like yarn that is smaller than chenille. So like here I have a bit of Kyla's Crafts, Naughty Ball. I have a bit of Jubilee yarn. Oh my goodness, Jubilee yarn in the back. A bit of HMBB's caterpillar yarn. Some fur yarn back there. And this cutie that I just had to get because I am designing a shawl. And I thought those colors would be perfect. And then since I didn't want to have like one square of parfait chunky here and then here and here, I just moved all of the parfait chunky colors and yarn over to these three cubbies. So everything parfait chunky is right here. I still have some work to do because I am going to cake up these blanket yarn and what else? I have a few other rolls that I need to like reorganize, and I'm also thinking of like little spaces where I can tuck in thingamabobber, a plushie. I'm gonna do that. Also, since these are mostly like yellows, oranges, and neutrals, anything that fits that category here, like that speckled one and that one, I'm just gonna move them over here. But for the most part, we have some progress. We have some progress and I'm loving it. Okay, we're back for the final recap of how and why and how my yarn is looking like. Look at it. I even did a bit of organizing back here, so now I can display my Sailor Scouts better. I even have this is a lacy farmhouse blanket, my own pattern, and yeah, a buddy system. That's a plushie that I just finished for a pattern test. Actually, it's not one plushie, it's 4 plushies. How it's organized right now, of course you only see 6 of them, but there are 2 extra over here. Those we don't talk about those because that's basically Basix chunky and worsted weight yarn, which is yarn that I particularly use for like blankets and stuff. And then over here, starting at the top, we have blanket or jumbo yarn. So these 2 cubbies are basically that. And then specialty yarn over here, specialty being fluffy yarn, fur yarn, chenille yarn that's very slim, like caterpillar yarn from HMBB Insta. I have some Naughty Ball there as well. And then the bottom 3 is all parfait chunky. And they are all divided. Over here it's neutrals with yellows and oranges, green with blue, and then red, pink, and purple over here. Not exactly rainbow order, but it's functional for me. I did pull out yarn that I need to work through. That yarn is a whole lot of Lion Brand 24/7 cotton yarn, which is the like, it's kind of like mercerized. Let me show you. It's like a little chain like this. Now I want to use it because I don't use it a whole lot, but I'm struggling between, you know, if I really do want to like work through it, I can just make, you know, pot pads, coasters, things like that, but I kind of don't want to make coasters or pot pads. I kind of want to make like, you know, bows and things to place in your hair. So maybe that's what I'm gonna do, except if I do that, it's gonna take me a while to work through it, but we're all here for it. On top of that, I did crank out my central knitting machine, and these are all they're going to be twisted headbands, which I'll add to my Etsy shop, mainly because I want to add a bit more quick makes into my shop, which is kind of why, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make like scrunchies, headbands, and bows and things like that, because they make a quick gift and I can also work through my stash. I did try an experiment using the cotton yarn, the Lion brand cotton yarn, in the central knitting machine, but it just did not work out. It was complaining a whole lot, and I wanted to try out, because I did see this video on like knitting scrunchies. So you would make like this small tube and then you sew it all around. I do have a 48 pin centro, and the tube was too big. It was just going to look weird around the scrunchie, so I'm just going to have to do like a regular crocheted scrunchie. Ooh, I can even try and double up 2 colors. That's an idea. That's an idea. All right, but that's one basket. So I want to work through these mainly because I don't use a whole lot of it. I'm not going to use the entire thing, but try and work through it as much as I can. The other basket is yarn, again, that I'm not gonna use, that I just don't want to use, and I don't want to pair with other yarns. Or I just had like these itty bitty balls of yarn. So this is what I have. The bigger ones, these are Premier's Pixie Dust. It's not that I don't love it. I do love this yarn. It's just that the fact that it's super thin, I have to double it up. And even doubling it up, I just don't like how it plays out with Parfait Chunky. Like if it's its own project, I love it. But pairing it up with Parfait Chunky just wasn't my thing. So this is where my part of a group chat on Instagram where we're making fidgets for people who are battling dementia. And particularly, like, a lot of us are making the little Mabel chickens in different yarn textures. A lot of us are making the All From Jade caterpillars, but I'm thinking, since I don't have enough yarn to make like different segments of the caterpillar, although I could do them solid, I don't know. But I think I'm gonna make some fidget flowers, and I'll link the pattern down below. I don't know, but that's what I'm gonna use the the Pixie Dust for. And then try and find a project so that I can use these smaller balls. Maybe call it the second project basket. But what I love about like this new system that I have, depending on how I'm feeling, like, hey, I want something that's quick, that's kind of mindless to do. Okay, let me just grab my basket of cotton yarn and sit down and work some things up. Or, you know, I kind of want to make a plushie or just like a quick plushie, I'll bring over the other basket. So that's good. if I want to have a break between making blankets, because I do have 2 blankets to finish this month, at least that's my goal. Both of them are for my sons, but that's my goal, to try and like finish their blankets once and for all. Well, not once and for all, because I'll probably make them another one somewhere along the line, but you know what I mean. I already used the system because I needed to finish a pattern test before wrapping things up for this video, and it was so easy to just go into, this is the yarn type that I want to use, and pull out the colors. I also got a custom order in for a striped leggy frog. The client was like, I want it to be in like a pink and a lilac color. It was so easy to just go into this cubby, pull out all the pinks and purples, snap a picture, check them out, and then it was, so it does work. Once I finish a project, I break out my handy dandy yarn winder and I recake the yarn that I just used. So, for example, I finished the pattern test. So now I have this like skein. It has a hole in the middle. It's not that bad, but I'll recake it. It'll shrink down in size a bit. I'll do the same with all the other colors. Look, these are 3 of the main colors of a project that I did. I'm not gonna show you yet. Or maybe. Do you want to see it? I think you want to see it. These. These were pattern tests for Yarnaholic Sociopath, and these are her macaw. This is her macaw pattern. She has the versions for like the regular red macaw and the blue macaw. I made the regular one because, you know, I love these colors, and the only thing you need to sew on is the beak. Everything else is worked while you're crocheting it on. For my second one, I went with colors from the Puerto Rican parrot, and just look at that. I highly, highly, highly recommend the pattern. It's like truly the possibilities, like the combination of colors, it's just endless. And look, they perch on my finger. Like, it's like so cute. I love them. So when picking out the colors for these, I was like, okay, so I really want to make the red one. So I just went and easily picked out the yarn, and yay. And then, because, you know, we are sophisticated, we are getting a bit professional here. When I was done with the red one, instead of pulling out the colors for the green one, like off the bat, you know, let's have a mess on my desk, no. I used all of the colors for the red macaw. I cranked out, I brought out my yarn winder, checked to see if I needed to rewind or reround some cakes. If they needed to be fixed, placed them back, and then I went shopping for this one. So I didn't have loads of weird skeins of yarn, and you know, my desk is a bit more organized, although I would just call my desk like a bit of an organized, chaotic mess, because even though you look at it, it's like, how does she even keep things organized? But in my brain, I know where everything is. Is this going to be my final organization video on yarn? Nope, I don't think so. It'll just keep evolving, because we as crocheters, as artists, as crafters, we're constantly changing. So we kind of have to keep up with the times, like our own times, like keep up with how, you know, basically what works best for us. That is all for today's video. If you liked something that you saw, if you wanted to add a note, a comment, or anything, please do so. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'm Lori from Entre Tejidos Crochet and Lori's Crafty Corner, where we talk about crafting, crocheting, scrapbooking, and everything in between. And I'll see you back soon in next week's video. Bye.